it's Dale here. Today I'm going to talk about tap and transfer and my sprays. A lot of people were asking me in the last couple of days about the transfer artist paper. You know, it was available a long time ago and then it disappeared because I believe they couldn't get one of the ingredients. And people didn't realise it had come back, and the lady actually thought I was selling old stock. Well, it doesn't have a long shelf life, and this is new, it's fantastic. This is the one that Leslie Riley created, and it's the best thing that you can use to transfer images. So you print them through an inkjet, that they decidedly only through the inkjet printer, onto your copy paper, and then you transfer it to whatever surface you're working on. And I was transferred mine onto, printed it on, and then I ironed it onto Tissutex. But I I sprayed the surface. I used a stencil. Not doing it here, the weather's a bit rough. So these are the sorts of stencils I was using. I just like the sorts of shapes because they're quite large and they'll go through my printing and so on. And I used letters, and mostly because it's all about, there's about the West Coast and that green from the West Coast that I like. So I lay the stencil down over the printed image that I'd done, and I sprayed with my Moonshadow with my Starburst sprays to give that colour. And one of the things about this is that the tap, it will retain the sprays. You think if you sprayed something on it wouldn't transfer very well, but it works extremely well. It's what's in it, it encapsulates the sprays and the mica. And so then I ironed it all onto Tissutex and transferred it onto my Khadi paper. So sometimes I've done directly onto Khadi paper, and you can see sort of layers of things underneath. Here on the front, I've used my printing, and I've worked this time on Tissutex that has been bonded to some silk fibres and some, you can see there just very briefly, the cotton gauze. So I've used that as my basis. You can work really well with the Tissutex onto your silk fibre, so if you're making the silk paper that way, and then I've stitched onto it after that. So it works extremely well, and something to play with, because it's all about playing, isn't it? And while I'm there as well, I used again further on, using the transfer artist paper. I was trying to explain this very carefully to someone, but it's easier if you have your samples there. And this one here is where I've used transfer artist paper onto my Khadi book with an image of the Bahutakawa tree flower, the flowers of the Bahutakawa tree. And some of them I've rubbed over with other things and put fusible web and mucked around a little bit, but you can start to get those images. And the thing about there's a couple of other ones where I've perhaps further on down and scratched into it and added other things. You picked up a bit of foil and so on, and also onto the same principle, but onto Evelyn, using a print that you've printed through the inkjet printer onto the transfer artist paper, and then you simply turn the artist paper over and iron it with an extremely hot iron until the image transfers onto it. And then on the Evelyn, which is great for stitching on, I've coloured it and so on. But I've done a lot of experiments with this, with the different things that I've played with. And here again, I think there's some more. I think that's probably it for here. But just playing with that image and seeing how it works. But using your stencils, your sprays, the transfer artist paper, and Tissutex, and then in this case onto Khadi paper. So just to give you an idea, and I hope that has been useful, because I just had to answer so many questions about it. So go for it, play. The more you play, the more you learn. So I hope that's useful, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.